Yo, what's going on? AKFPV here, and I just received something in the mail that I am so very excited about. I have been waiting for this, asking daily, do you have tracking? When is this going to get here? I know it's a highly anticipated new product that is about to hit the market here very, very soon. A lot of pilots have been eagerly waiting to get their hands on this specific product, myself included. And with that being said, this is an exciting day for the world of micro drone racing. I'm talking about our little guys here. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. I want to have a first look at this with you guys, show you what it looks like, give my initial thoughts on looking at it, and this way, hopefully, if and when you guys decide to purchase it, this video might give you a little bit more knowledge on what you're getting when you do decide to buy this product. So let's just jump right into it, guys. I am so excited. This is the BetaFPV Air Brushless FC flight controller of their new series. Now the 4-in-1 has already come out. This is not the 4-in-1, guys. The 4-in-1 is a great flight controller option as well, but the 5-in-1 is what I personally have been after, and it's here. And I'm so excited to open this box, take a look at it, see what's in there, what's included, take a look at the flight controller, the pads, all that jazz, and see what we're getting ourselves into. So I don't want to waste any more time. Let's jump right into it. So let's open this thing up here. So right here, when you open the package, you see you got your flight controller sitting right there. So I'm going to pull this out and just kind of show you guys. So this is the front side, or the top side I should say, of the flight controller. Okay, one of the first things I notice when I look at this flight controller right out the box here is how much open space is at the top point of this flight controller. And I can't help but to think the reasoning behind that is a receiver. Repositioning the internal ELRS receiver that's built into this flight controller. Many of us use the crossboards in the past, which, you know, this one's just sitting here with some motors on it, but what would happen is where the receiver would be when in a hard crash, it would flex the board, and the tracers on the inside of the actual board itself would break, and then you would lose RX, and it was a big problem. But I've flown the 4-in-1, I haven't had that issue. The 4-in-1 doesn't have the receiver built in, so of course it's not going to have that issue. But the 5-in-1 does have the receiver built in, and again, it looks like they moved where the receiver is. So first look, kudos to BetaFPV for listening on that. That's a big deal. I want to show you guys the backside of this flight controller, because if you haven't taken a look at any of these new series of the brushless air flight controller series, again, they have the 4-in-1. They also have the 5-in-1 now, which I just got today. But you do have a JST connector, right, for your plug-in to whatever flight software you use, Betaflight being one of the more common ones. And with that being said, I know that the 4-in-1s were not coming with the harness itself. So I'm going to open up the rest of this box here and kind of show you guys what's in here, because with that first comment just now about no harness, a lot of people are freaking out. I don't have this plug. Whereas this JST plug was very common in drones 5-6 years ago, and it's not common these days. So when I first got my 4-in-1, I was like, oh, no problem, I have those plugs laying around. But as other people in my club and around the world have been getting these flight controllers, they're like, hold on, how do I plug this into Betaflight? You need the cable. So it does come with it, guys, first and foremost. So you do have your JST cable here, right? And then you do have the extension piece here that you will plug into, right? You'll plug in your little harness right here into your plug. Boom. Other side into the flight controller. USB Type-C to Betaflight. This is how you will connect to your flight software and program this flight controller. So yes, the answer is yes. It does come with the harness you need to plug into Betaflight. Secondly, very common, all flight controllers, especially in the micro world, do come with your gummies for your flight controller and these screws as well, if you are ones that use these screws that come with it. Of course, you need those to bolt down your canopy. Also, one thing you may have noticed when I was showing off the flight controller, and we'll take a deeper look at that here in a moment, but you'll probably notice that there was not the main LiPo lead plug soldered to it. And to me personally, that's a huge plus. Why? For me, I shorten and I 90 degree or 180 degree modify my BT 2.0 connectors. When a flight controller comes with them, most times they're soldered and they're coming out the bottom, right? And in my opinion, when it comes out the bottom, if you look, when you plug in a LiPo and look at the bottom of your whoop, you're going to notice that the wires are going to run under one of your ducts. What that tells me is that you might get some dirty air in that, just that one singular motor in that ducting, because you have those wires there. It's not perfectly clean air. Could be placebo, I don't know. But when you run it out of the top, which is very common for a lot of top whoop pilots out there, not only do you no longer have wires sitting underneath your ducting, you also can shorten them tremendously. So the wires come pretty long when they're underneath. They got to come out the frame and loop around and go in, right? So I'll show you guys. This is my 4-in-1 build that has the BetaFPV 4-in-1 flight controller on there. So this is what I'm talking about though. So I like to run it out the top here. I don't run the risk of it sitting underneath any of my ducts. And it just very simply and easily, of course, arrow's always supposed to be in the back. Always in the back of the arrow. Anyways, when this comes around here, it just easily sits right there. You plug in your LiPo and you're good to go. And again, it just sits nice right there, not blocking any ducting, no airflow is being blocked. So the 180 mod is, in my opinion, a very crucial mod. Now, as the 180 mod got really popular in the world of micro drone racing, what happened? Beta, being the innovators that they are, BetaFPV said, hey, we see all these pilots doing it. Why don't we come out with a production version? That's exactly what they did. Now, this is not a new product. It is a little newer, but it's not brand new. But it does come with the new 180 mod connector. I love that this is not directly soldered to my flight controller already for me personally. Because one, I'm gonna have to desolder it. It always comes out the bottom. And two, this plug, of all the BT 2.0 connector plugs out there, is the heaviest one. This box is pretty chunky here, and whereas this is a great option for a majority of pilots out there, it is not an ideal option for a pilot of my level, because I am fighting weight by every little bit that I can to try to get my whoop as light as possible to really extend my, not only my flight times, but just my overall power to weight ratio on my craft. So this awesome option, really glad it comes with these. Again, great option for majority of pilots. I do suggest, if you use this, great, you should. It's awesome. It's already much shorter. You can already tell how much shorter these are than the original plugs that they've come with. But, you know, you can solder it, and I'd suggest you solder it right to the top of the flight controller here. Have it come out the back side of your board, over the top and underneath for a plug-in. Again, just to create cleaner air for yourself. Again, could be placebo. I don't know. I don't go down that whole scientific route. I just like to go fast. So, and that's it. So you do get this plug with it as well, guys. Me personally, I will be creating and building my own 180 mod plug and making it as short as I possibly can to fight weight, save weight. But nonetheless, it does come with this guy, which is great. And then last but not least, the last thing you're going to get in this package is going to be your VTX antenna. Crucial, right? So this is a 5-in-1, guys, right? So what those 5 items are: you have an ESC in this flight controller, right? So you have all your ESCs built in. You have your flight controller built in. You have your OSD chip is built in. You have your receiver, which is ELRS, by the way, built in. And then last, certainly not least, a now built-in BTX, right? So the last model, or the last rendition of beta flight controllers did not have a built-in VTX. Here's one right here to look at. So what do? We add our own external VTX. If you do add external VTXs, always suggest doing them on the bottom. Fun little note. These flight controllers are phenomenal. Really, really big fan. These have been my go-to for a very, 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 very long time. Multiple years now, at least 2 years. This is what I use primarily. But with that being said, the weight difference from this to this should be quite tremendous. So if we take a quick look, and actually I'll weigh these two just to see. So let's do this. Let's plug in, I'm going to go ahead and just plug in this VTX antenna to the UFL and the flight controller. Now, neither of these flight controllers, the original Beta Cross that I have here that I just showed you guys, nor this one, okay, the plug's not going on as easy as I'd like right now, so instead of just jamming it on there and potentially damaging my UFL, I'm just going to go right to the scale. So this one does have an antenna on it and a VTX. It also does have the gummies, right? So let's see what that weighs. That's a VTX. It is wired up. The wires are really small there because they are enamel coated copper wire on here, but I got a VTX antenna. I removed the bell on for weight purposes, and then the flight controller, of course, with the gummies included. I'm gonna throw that on the scale right now. We're looking at 4.72 grams. Again, that's basically everything in this right here is on this new flight controller, because this does have the external VTX. So I'm gonna throw the other one on here, but just to make sure that the weight is fair, I am going to pull out these 4 gummies here and make sure those are included in the weight calculations here. So let's throw on the new Beta 5-in-1 flight controller on the scale. I'm going to add the antenna that it comes with. Again, we're looking at 4.72 on the cross board there, and then of course I'm going to toss these 4 little tiny gummies on here to add in the weight, and we are looking at 4.28 grams. So we are just a little bit less than a half a gram savings, which is awesome. I mean, weight in the world of micro drone racing is huge, especially when you climb the ranks and get yourself at that top level. If you're fighting weight and you're just you feel it in the corners, your whoop's just not fast enough, you need to reduce weight, unfortunately. But that's just the way things go, and that's just the way things are heading. The cool thing is BetaFPV never ceases to amaze me when they see these modifications that top pilots are doing, like your Wild Type, your T-Dogs, your Wordna, your Justice, myself, tons of really top tier guys out there that have proven themselves. Rab, another one, have won large scale, like world level scale micro drone races. These guys are modifying whoops to be a certain way, because you got a whoop that, in my opinion, at my speed, I can't really hang with anything that's over 17 grams. And that's a dry weight that doesn't include a battery, which is cool. The new Beta Air 4-in-1, I mean, that thing's really light. I think it's almost too light for most, but I would suggest a 17.5 to 18 gram whoop for a majority of pilots out there is a really good sweet spot. When you do climb the ranks and really get up there in speed, you're gonna want something lighter, and this is a really good option to automatically, right out the gate, shave off a half a gram. Okay, so just under, again, I think of 0.4 or something, so we're close, we're really close, but almost a half a gram shaved right there, just matching this old setup of mine with an OVX 300 on this flight controller versus this one that has the built-in VTX. But one thing I also noticed, so here is a plug, which is a camera plug, and I assume it's going to work direct plug and play with any BetaFPV camera out there that they offer. But if you're like me and you're fighting weight, what am I going to do with that plug? It's coming off. I'm taking that plug off personally. I don't want it. I don't need it. I won't use it for 2 reasons. Mostly, well, really one reason. Weight. I have this plug, and then I also have a plug on the end of my camera. Those two together are going to add weight. So in reality, when I remove this plug, I bet we'll be at that half a gram or more savings between the old cross style flight controller to this new 5-in-1 flight controller. And then I want to show you guys, I didn't really give you a good look at this yet, but here's the pad layout. This thing looks really good. I love the fact that the pads are now rectangles on the motors. In the past with the crossboard, it was like an L-shaped pad on the outsides. It was like an L, then a straight pad in the middle, and then an L on the other side, like a backwards L. And it was very easy to bridge those motor pads. So these pads are much bigger, much easier to solder to. They are on the bottom. It does not appear that motor pads are on top, but they do run on the side as well. So there's another way that you can shave weight by just soldering directly to the side and having your wires come down, opposed to utilizing the entire pad on the bottom. If you need to go to that extent, go for it. But what I also see here, and I'm glad to see it's at the front of the flight controller, these 3 pads. Those 3 pads right there are camera pads. So with that, I'm going to take my handy dandy X-Acto knife and get rid of this plug. She gone. See you later. Actually, probably not. And I'm going to direct solder right here these pads underneath. Easy peasy, really close. That tells me that from here, from that point, I will very easily be able to run extremely short wires on my camera, and it shouldn't be an issue at all. So those camera plugs are located, or the camera pads are located on the bottom side of the flight controller at the front, which is awesome. So that's my first look at it. With the camera plug removed, we're saving 0.5 grams right out the gate. I also am not taking into account that I have not removed the bell off of this antenna yet, whereas the other flight controller that I showed does have the bell removed. Granted, this is a much longer antenna than this one, so really when I remove this bell, when I get rid of that camera plug, maybe we'll save 0.65, 0.7, which is still a significant amount. I can very easily see these builds being in the high 15 gram range with very little modifications, and very easily in the low 14 gram range, dry weight of course, with some heavy modifications. Those of you that like to use enamel coated copper wire out there, you know, here's a build that I have that actually I can't show you guys that, I'm sorry. That's a new product that's coming out. I can't show that one. But nonetheless, first look, I'm stoked, guys. I got a few of these in. I'm gonna build up some fresh rigs. I have the rest of my parts coming in tomorrow. I have some Weebleed Screamer motors, which are hands down my favorite all-around motor. They're an 0702 32,500 kV. I've tried a ton of motors. Yes, I am a Weebleed team pilot, but no, that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna try other things. I've tried other motors out there. I've tried pretty much all the potential competitive motors out there. Now, I'm not going through the extent of testing the KV on motors like I have done in the past with 802s, when 802s were the go-to, but in my honest opinion, there is no better motor than the Weebleed Screamer motor out there for an all-around motor. Now, there is another motor that is a strong competitor in my opinion, also by Weebleed. There may be a little bias here. It's the Skirt motors, which are my addition motors to Weebleed FPV. Shout out Weebleed FPV, of course, as always. You guys are the best. But the Skirt motors are really, really fast motors. Being such high KV, you can only expect for shorter flight time. So I like using my Skirt motors for things like race gal, or UTT style, small tracks, or maybe I'm at a race, the race is over. We race every single Thursday night here in Arizona for almost 8 years now. It's crazy. But at the end of the race, if there is time, we do hot laps. So the pilots just go and they fly as fast as they freaking can. And that's when I'm flying my Skirt motors in those instances. I'm busting those guys out and I'm sending them, you know, and letting them eat, which are a really, really solid option. I don't rely on the Skirt motors personally for everyday use, but they're a phenomenal qualifying motor. They're a phenomenal race gal motor. They are a phenomenal one-way whoop motor if that's the way you roll. Shout out to Noah Custom FPV at IO. He did a one-way whoop, and that was really fun to see. He flew off into the sky, and you could still see the little LED, and he's way up there, and then out of nowhere, it fail-safes, and then as it's coming down, he gains connection again. It keeps sending. But anyways, one-way whoop. If you're willing to sacrifice a whoop, send me the video. I love watching one-way whoop videos. Those are a lot of fun. But back to the flight controller, guys. This thing looks really good. I'm excited to use it. I'm excited to see what a build comes out to. I'm going to build one without really doing heavy mods. I'm going to use, you know, the Beta 65 airframe, which is my go-to frame. Arrow in the back, always arrow in the back. Testing was done, guys. Arrow in the back. If you're in the front, you're not going fast enough. And then I'll keep the frame stock. I won't trim it like this one's trimmed up, but I will put in my Rennie or my Peak hardware, the little plastic screws on the motor side. I'll keep the metal screws on the canopy side. I am going to use a pinch camera by Tiny Whoop on that as well on my builds, and I'm going to leave it fairly, stock. I'm not going to go through the hassle of enamel coated wire. I'm going to keep the normal wires that comes on the motors. Again, just your everyday typical build, not going through crazy modifications, and see what that weight comes out to be. And then I will go the extra mile and remove off this JST connector. I'll run the Rennie hardware on my canopy. I will go to the extent of running the enamel coated copper wire. Of course, making sure I'm using a light propeller, and like the Gemfan 1219S's. I personally like the Werdna green ones. Werdna's my boy. Love that dude. His prop color is really cool. Still waiting for my props to come out from Gemfan, Mike. Waiting on you, buddy. You're busy. I get it. We'll get around to it, but hopefully soon an AK propeller will be coming out from Gemfan. Excited for that one. But nonetheless, guys, hopefully this video gives you a little bit more understanding or a little bit more information on what this flight controller looks like, what the pad layout is, what the box includes, so it helps you better decide on if this might be the purchase for yourself. Now, not to toot BetaFPV's horn, but I'm gonna go ahead and toot their horn. If you look at Whooptopia, the world's biggest Tiny Whoop race, I'm talking 80 pilots all across the world. We had 13 different countries of pilots there 2 years ago. I mean, come on. People come from all over the world for this event. It's 80 pilots. I wish we could handle more. Maybe in the future, we'll double that in size, and we'll have 2 locations with 2 different tracks so we can handle that many pilots. But for now, it's 80 pilots, and I'm just babbling on and on and on and on. But the point of what I'm getting at here with circling back, tooting BetaFPV's horn, is the top 4 pilots of the highest class in Whooptopia, which is not an easy task by any means, because all the big boys come to play at Whooptopia. 16 pilots out of those 80 make it into that top elite class. The final 4 were all using BetaFPV flight controllers. I wonder why that is. I don't know. You can decide for yourself. But not to bash on the competition, I love all the products out there, guys. There's a lot of great products out there, again, but this video is in specific to BetaFPV. Of course, I am going to shout them out. But T-Dog, Tristan Teff, 3-time Whooptopia champion, back to back the last 3 years. He got first place. What did he use? BetaFPV flight controller. Second place, my training partner, good friend of mine, Joshua Loxon, aka Wild Type. Second place, what did he use? BetaFPV flight controller. Third place, from Indonesia, my boy Werdna. He is awesome. What was he using? A BetaFPV flight controller. And fourth place, not very proud of it, but that was myself. I got 4th this year, but I also was using the BetaFPV flight controller. So you guys, there's a common trend here, right? I don't want this to persuade you away from other products that you like using, because there is some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. I wish I could show you guys, but it's coming soon, very, very soon. And you guys will be able to get your hands on multiple different options out there. But with that being said, I hope this video has been helpful for hopefully one person. If I made one person happy, great. I achieved my goal here today. If you like this video, though, please do me a favor. Like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever. If you don't, no big deal. I'm watching. I'm just kidding. But anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you guys have a great day. My doorbell just rang. I think I have more parts in. I'm excited. Later. AK out.